Lamont Hill. Welcome to Night School. Every night here on the Marc Lamont Hill official YouTube channel, we hold Night School, where I break down the most controversial topics, the most interesting subjects, the most debated conversations going on in the world today. And tonight is no different. I am joining y'all late tonight because I am in Chicago, Illinois. I'm even wearing a jacket, so you know it must be important. I'm not wearing my customary t-shirt and or hoodie. And the reason I'm here is because I just joined the great Angela Davis in a conversation around justice and around Palestine, around struggle. We spent an hour and a half together on stage talking about these issues. It's an honor whenever I get to sit next to my dear friend, my dear sister, my comrade, Angela Davis. I learned so much from her, and I absolutely had to push the show back. But for Angela Davis, I'll do it. And then afterward, I got to hang out a little bit. I just met up with some great freedom fighters and from Chicago, some great organizers, from Charlene Carruthers to Bill Ayers to so many dope people. I don't even want to name all of them, but it was just a great experience. And of course, I got my Harold's fried chicken getting delivered here. They had some fancy dinner, but if I'm in Chicago, it's a couple spots. I'm getting my Italian Village and I'm getting my Harold's chicken. So sorry for all you vegans out there. Don't judge me too much. We got a great show tonight. We got a lot to talk about. We're going to talk a lot about these new Diddy accusations and the story behind it. I also want to talk about some of the media representations of what's been going on in Israel, Palestine. It's not going to be a long show because I'm old and got an early flight, but we're going to talk about that stuff. But most importantly, at the top of the show, we are joined by somebody who I think is incredibly important. Her name is Latham Thomas, and she is the world's greatest doula for sure. But on top of that, she is an advocate for women's maternal health, particularly Black women's maternal health. And this weekend, something really important is coming up. It's called Doula Expo. And it is just an absolute amazing event that everybody should really be paying attention to. Latham Thomas joins us right now on the show. My friend, my sister, my doula. Good to see you.
I'm so glad to see you. And just first, before we get started here, I just want to pour into you and thank you for how you've been showing up for us on this platform that is accessible to everybody. I'm not able to hang at night school every night, y'all, because sometimes it'd be late and we in New York. And so, but I wake up the next day and I get to see the video cuts and I get to be on my way someplace and watch the clips and just take that in. And I just want to remind you, and I know that you know this and you get fortification from the comments, that it's so important, it's needed. I don't even turn on the news. I cut on you. And then that helps me to, you know what I'm saying, orient and also have an analysis, right, on what is happening. The work that you've been doing also to just advance the conversations and help people understand what's happening geopolitically has been critical in this moment. And I think also a masterclass in patience as well as right? So we just pray over you and we are here to lifting you up because we need people like you to continue to be able to do the work. So we're pouring into you and praying for you always.
Well, thank you, sister. That means so much coming from you. It means so much. And I want to reciprocate that love. I mean, not just what you've done for me personally, but with my family, but sort of who you are in the world and what you do for birthing people everywhere, but especially Black women. Your advocacy, your truth, you're a teacher, you're a guide, you're a mentor, you're all the things, and you give so much. And I hope you know how valued and treasured and loved you are. It means so much. Talk to us about Doula Expo, because again, a lot of people don't know fully all the things you do, particularly through Mama Glow, which is one of your major platforms, which of course trains the next generation of birth workers and nurse care managers. Etc. But Doula Expo is like, to me, it's like the Essence Fest for birth workers. I love what you're doing. Talk to us about what it is.
First of all, thank you for calling it Essence Fest, because we got Coachella for birth workers. Somebody said it was a Super Bowl. Now we got Essence Fest. So we're in the right company.
Right. Word.
So the Doula Expo by Mama Glow is this culture shifting festival that is centering a vision for the future of birth work. It is all about bringing community together, folks who are stakeholders in the space, as well as parents and families and folks to build community, but to have really important conversations in a festive environment. So rather than having like a conference where people are being talked to, you have shorter panels, keynotes, fireside chats, and TED style talks that really allow for people to take in the information and understand what's happening, but also to convene with the people. So if somebody's on stage, they're also in the audience and they're also there all day hanging out. So you can really connect with them. And so there's like main stage content, there's live entertainment. We have this thing called the Wellness Garden, which is literally the outdoors, indoors, this beautiful garden space that we've created where people can essentially rest and rejuvenate while they're at the Doula Expo. We have a cafe, like children can hang out. There's a breastfeeding lounge. There's a lounge for mothers and birthing folk. And also there's really amazing people that come to this, right, that show up. Some of the brand partners are Sister Song, who are our sisters in the reproductive justice movement. They'll be activating. We have CVS Health, like Parallel, which is an amazing vitamin company, a company that's new that I love called Culture Care, which does second opinions for Black women. So literally, if you have a medical diagnosis or you have information that came from your doctor and you don't feel good about, you can go sit with these Black women and they will give you a second opinion. So we have things like that happening there. So really just a space to help people grow. But also, I love the folks who show up, like Tatiana Ali's our MC again this year. We got Tamron Hall closing it out on Sunday, who's obviously an award-winning journalist and an author. We have the New York State Senator Samara Brooke, who did a lot of amazing, passed amazing legislation that was to advance doula access, right? So that's been huge. She'll be giving a community address. Jamani Williams, our public advocate, who is soon to be probably our mayor, right? So we have Jamani Williams, right? So Jamani's coming to talk about his birthing experience with his wife, India. We have Dr. Deirdre Cooper Owens, who's the foremost historian on J. Marion Sims. DJ Vashti, if you know her, she's amazing. Just like a really amazing person in culture. Lisa Price from Carol's Daughter, as you know, is there. Queen Afua, who's like the queen mother of all wellness, will be there and doing womb wellness work with us. And so it's one of those kind of experiences that's intergenerational, but important because it's really centering our traditions, our solutions. And one thing that's different this year that I'm excited about is that we have it certified for CEU credits. So if you're a nurse or a doctor, right, and you want to up on your health equity track, if you want to learn more about maternal health, Black maternal health specifically, if you want to get up on structural competency, if you want to think through how you can design different spaces within the systems that you're working inside of, you can get 7.25 CEUs when you come. And so that's major to spend the weekend with us, have fun, kick it, make new friends, right? Get an amazing gift bag, and then also get credit. So I encourage our physicians who are out there, I encourage our nurses who are out there to come and get this nourishment and this connection to community and be in this space with birthing folks and also with people who are leading the charge in community. People are coming from all over the country to speak. We did a call for abstracts this year. So we have 4 amazing community organizations and some medical institutions that are presenting research that's centering our experiences. So that's why I love what we're doing, because it's the only thing like it. And I like that you brought it to essence, because it does center us, right? It centers our experiences, and we do it beautifully and make it like a really amazing event for all.
Absolutely. Everybody take a quick sec. I want to play just a little bit of the promo video, because I want y'all to see exactly what's going on here, because I think it's such an amazing event and so worthwhile.
Hello. So happy to be here in community with you all this weekend. We are here in Hudson Yards in Manhattan in New York City. Everybody here is a leader. Everybody here is in service of each other. Everybody here has something special that they can offer someone else up in the room. Say yes.
The Doula Expo for me is about creating a space for community. We wanted to come together to bring everyone from our doulas who have small businesses to brand partners to be in one space and have a celebration.
Right to our GMA cover story and the ongoing fight for reproductive justice and birth equity, taking center stage at a massive event being called the Coachella for birth workers and families.
In the United States, we rank lowest of all industrialized countries when it comes to maternal health.
The research was telling us that Brooklyn was the least safest borough to give birth, that Black and brown women were 9.4 times more likely to die giving birth.
We are more susceptible than any other demographic group to hold mental health issues in our bodies.
Like, what should I have done? What is it that would have made or could have made a difference and saved my wife's life?
The Black maternal health movement is a freedom movement. It's freedom for our families. So many stories and so many lived experiences have brought us all to this work. We need to come together and not do the work in silos. This movement affects every aspect of all of our lives.
We deserve better than this, and we deserve more. And we're not gonna, right? We're not just gonna sit back and like wait for policy change and wait for legislation to catch up. Like, we're gonna design our own solutions.
We're going to design our own solutions. I love that kind of talk. As I watch the promo, and I've talked to you obviously and other people there's a couple of things. I mean, there's a sense of urgency around Black maternal health that I think we need to think and talk about.
Yes.
But like you said, it's not just an abstract conversation. It's also what do we do about it now? That woman on the clip who talked about the danger of a Black woman giving birth in Brooklyn being I think she said more than 9 times that of another place. How do we enter a space in a country like the United States, which is supposed to be so developed and be so resource rich and so cutting edge scientifically, where all women are at a higher risk than many other similar countries, but Black women in particular are so vulnerable? Why?
Yeah, so I have a couple of ways to think about this. Black women in this country, if you look at the statistics here and you also compare it to like the UK, it's the same because anti-Blackness is global, right?
Right.
So so when people say, well, it's not just about being industrialized, it's about institutions and how we design institutions foundationally is rooted in brutality, right? Rooted in white supremacist patriarchy and systemic racism, in brutality, right? And so if you think about actually how the medical system comes to be, we know that that's off of the blood and bone of Black bodies, right? So we don't get to where we are without harm, right? And we don't get to where we are without discounting the lives of Black women and birthing folk as not valuable, right? And so there was a time, obviously, where our bodies were valuable because they were productive. They could actually produce because human capital was actually the foundation of what would become these United States and really the West, right? Which would create the riches for the West. And so at that time, it was critical to figure out how do we keep them alive, right? How do we keep them able to reproduce? And so, but not make them well, but just make them functional so that they can actually do this work of actually reproduction, right? And this is because we cannot import any slaves anymore. So this is how we have to breed people here. When we move out of slavery and we move into like Jim Crow terror and beyond, why would we want to protect the lives of Black women? Like, why would we want those populations of people to continue, except for it to be in servitude, right? And so the lens on how we look at the Black body is still one of productivity. If you think about Black women, we are constantly in service of people emotionally. We're constantly in service of people. I mean, we're literally the vessels through which people provide, like people lay upon us everything, and we hold the universe together by our fingertips, but everybody depends on us, right?
Everybody.
So everybody, literally everybody. And so imagine what that does when you also are not seen as human. You also aren't seen as valuable outside of what you can produce, outside of what you can do for someone else, right? Or for the economy, for instance. So if you are seen as someone who is a strain on the economy, or someone who, if there's a bunch of your kids running around here, it'll make our neighborhoods like, we don't really want these people around, we want less of them. Why would you make it, easy for them to birth comfortably, to live comfortably, to live safely? No, I think it's like aligned with how we've designed this country, from everywhere from Jim Crow to obviously redlining, to putting people in tenements and public housing, to, locking us out of education, locking us out of healthcare, locking us out of good housing, locking us out of good jobs. All of this is really the same thing, right? Structurally. So I think that when it comes to looking at something like birth, we can liken it to what we see happening within the justice system for Black men. We see that also for them, like, incarceration is a priority, right? And so what people don't realize about our medical system is that it's also inherently carceral. So
what do you mean? Say more about that.
Well, so I mean, if you think about when you enter into the medical institutions, first you're checked in, right? So you're ID'd, you're badged, you're input into a system. And then everything that happens while you're there is out of your control. And so you're also subject to whomever is providing the care. You have to be essentially obedient, really, right? So I know that people think like, well, no, I talk to my doctors, I talk to my physicians, but most people don't feel that they have the power to speak up. And I say this because when we talk to people about advocacy, which we talk all the time, advocate for yourself, fight for your rights, make sure that when you go in there that you ask for what you need, and you make sure your providers know. We talk like we practice that. But we have been taught in life not to practice that. We've been taught to actually bow your head when you see a police officer and walk across the street. We've been taught to not speak up to our teachers. We've been taught not to speak to authority in a tone or in a way that would make them feel threatened. We've been taught to actually de-escalate, not to bring up things that would make someone feel uncomfortable, right? So if I'm seen as an authority figure, right? And then now it's time for you to come into this system, right? Where you have not practiced the skill of advocating for yourself, because you've been taught since a very young age, don't do this, don't do that, don't disrupt, don't get yourself into trouble, don't talk, if the police come, beat, right? We learned this so early. So then when it's time to actually stand up for ourselves, we don't have that muscle. Right. And then we go into that space when these things happen to us, they are happening to us. Right? These are things that are happening that sometimes we feel outside of our control. And what also happens, just like it happens in the carceral system, and there's no accountability, is that harm can happen. Everything from what we call medical abuses or disrespect or harms that occur, everything from slights of disrespect, of people speaking to you a certain way and making you feel less confident, coercion, all the way to assault, right? Yeah. These things happen and there's no accountability. And so it's kind of like the code of brotherhood that we see with the police, right? Where we're not going to give up, we're going to close ranks. And people learn that very early, because there's also a fraternity and sort of like a brotherhood when you go into med school. Med school is a hazing exercise. And so all of this leads to a space that looks just like everywhere else institutionally, but we're told to go there for our healthcare. And so what people have to understand, and I'm not saying this like I go to the hospital if I need to, right? I work within hospital settings. It's not about the people who provide the care. It's the institutional structure and framework and the ideology that underpins that makes us unsafe. The people who then ingest those ideas, who come out of institutions where they've not been taught how to interact with people who don't look like them And then also believe that those people do not deserve safe, equitable, affordable, dignified care, are the people who are doling out the care. This is how we get to a place where Black women say, no, I don't feel safe. Where Black women say they did not listen to me. I was in pain, but they thought I was impervious to pain. Where Black women say, I nearly lost my life, or in some instances can't come on the other side to tell the story. And so we have long been harmed. What I will also say is that in these institutions that are anchored by white supremacist patriarchy, the reason why it continues, not because we can't solve it, it is also because whiteness has always been comfortable proximate to pain, Black pain. Whiteness always comfortable proximate to Black pain. So if Black women are bleeding, nobody cares. And so we can talk all we want, but if nobody is really primed or has a visceral reaction to respond to our need, our dire need for support, for safety, to be seen as human, we will not get the care we deserve. And so that's number one. And that's obviously something that is baked, right? This is inside the system. This is not something that like all of a sudden, because everybody has a similar experience, right? We're saying we see that. And I want to just also frame, like, I had a beautiful birth. It was in a birth center. It was amazing. I had midwives. Safe and healthy birth happens all the time. And I've attended many. But what I am saying is that we are talking about institutions that are not designed for that to happen, that you have to work to make birth magical. You have to work to set it up in a space like a hospital for it to be magical, because those spaces are not inherently safe for us. And that is why it is important to invest in out-of-hospital birth with midwives for people who are low risk. It's an amazing place to think through as an option for yourself to have autonomy over your body in this experience. It's an amazing option, not for all, but for many people to consider. Birth centers are really amazing spaces that feel like a home environment to give birth, right? Where you can be with midwives, you can have doula support. And if you are in hospitals, and I work with so many amazing physicians, that's why I'm saying like the Doula Expo is a great place, because we come and have this thought leadership, but we're honest, right? About what we're really facing and dealing with and trying to change. And so I work with physicians, I train nurses and try to get them out of this way that they've been thinking and introduce different frameworks, right? So people can expand their consciousness, but also look to see, where are my blind spots? How am I showing up? What's it like when I'm servicing Black women and, versus servicing these people? Whoa, let me look and see how, right? Like, let me check myself, but also let me be in spaces where people are checking me and inviting me in for critique, for teachable moments to learn, right? Because you have to constantly work and chip away at something that's like as big as what we're facing right now. When we look at this, the landscape of maternal health in this country, it takes all of us. And when I say it takes all of us, it's not just all of us Black or POC folk, it's all of us, because this is a human rights issue. And if we think about it from, if we can solve for Black women, right? If we think about like this population of people who is underserved, then it means that we can get it right for trans folks, right? It means we can get it right for disabled folks, right? It's like we can get it right for other people if we really start to focus on marginalized groups. And I'm looking at the lens of Black women, and then I expand from there, right? So when we do trainings, we also look at LGBTQ plus communities and where they've been marginalized in the birthing experiences. We look at disability justice. We use a lot of the disability justice frameworks to help us to model a future that's different and designed differently in how people get care, because there's so many amazing learnings from movement building that's happening with marginalized communities. And so when people start to listen and show up in those spaces and see how those folks are solution building, then they learn how to design different care models. And that's what we're really creating space for. But it's important in this moment, as you know, and it's critical. We are not talking about like something that we need to be that on the back burner. It should be on everybody's agenda. Like This is an issue now. It's an issue every day. And until we can make it that Black women go into hospitals and they feel safe, and when they go to bed at night and they're not thinking about this, worrying if something can happen to them, we got to get to that place, because that exact feeling, right? I want to bring this in too, because what I see with brothers, when people put the videos up of harm that's happening in our community, when someone is lynched and they play that for us to see, like a body strewn, through the streets, or they play children's bodies, like for us to see, to dehumanize, to desensitize, and to also terrorize. That is a form of terrorism, to show us that this could happen to you. That is what that's signaling to people when you show them that, because we do not do this with white people. We would never see somebody show us videos of their bodies being maimed. But we do this to Black and brown people only. And that doesn't make people feel more comfortable, because I already said whiteness is comfortable proximate to Black pain. So do not get desensitized to this. Do not see the stories and be sensitized. Just like when we see those bodies strewn around, and it's another lynching that should not have happened, another brutality that should not have happened at the hands of the state-sanctioned violence from the police. When we see that happening and we get desensitized, we get upset, and then we get desensitized because they show it to us like it's so almost much, like it's like showing, like they act like it's like a fight that's coming on, like they get us ready to watch it like it's a main event. And that is spectacle lynching. And that happens to remind us to be put in our places, that this can happen to you. Just like when Black women constantly hear over and over and over that these statistics, and they hear that this is happening, oh my God, could this happen to me too? These are things that remind us that we are not safe here. And we have to continue to fight for our liberation. We have to see birth as a liberatory practice, and safe and healthy, dignified Black birth as a liberatory practice, but also as a transcendent birthright. It is our right to birth in dignity and in community and in love, and to feel transcendence and to feel abundant and to feel joyful and to be embraced by community and to basically levitate. Like, we're supposed to not be fighting for our life, and you cannot fight for your life and give birth. You got to do one or the other.
No, and the idea that you should have to even be forced to make those choices, to be confronted with those options, is absurd.
You cannot. I think people don't understand that when they ask people, go advocate. I can't advocate and also give birth. What birth requires is safety. Birth requires intimacy. It requires quiet and calm and an environment where you can actually feel safe. Like, safety is critical for birthing. If you don't feel safe, you cannot effectively birth. And
I'm looking at a comment here from Zakia Simpson, who says Serena Williams and Allison Felix both reported issues with treatment during birth process. These are rich people, rich and famous.
Resource and celebrity, right?
Yeah.
Yes, Serena. I love that people bring up Serena, because if she had not gotten out of that bed after she had that surgery, she said also that she ended up reopening her C-section wounds from getting up and from coughing so much, because of the fact that those the polyps, I think, were showing up on her lungs. Yeah. And it's like, why, right? That we have to fight, that people do not, that a person like the most decorated athlete of all time is fighting for her life, right? So when you see that, right, again, that's the signaling. If you see that, you're like, oh, that could be me, right? If it could be her, it could be me, right? And that does not make people feel empowered. It's the opposite, right? It makes us feel like, oh my gosh, I don't have a chance. And so I think what's important here is that we have to know that, no, we do have a chance, and that we come from a strong legacy of people who have not only birthed, who have witnessed us birth in community. We come from a long legacy of people who have witnessed us in our strength in community, who have sung songs and prayed over us and cooked gumbo on the stove while babies were running around the house while we were birthing. Like, we've been doing this. And we've been the people who had the solutions all the time. We had the solutions first that became institutionalized, right? And so I think that's important for us to remember that we do have the magic. We do also have the solutions. And we also know, we know what to do as community. We know what to do.
We just need to sort of invest in that community. And that's what makes Doula Expo so amazing, y'all. Make sure you check out Doula Expo. If people want to register, sign up, come through, if they're in New York or near New York or want to participate, what do they do?
Yeah, so just go to doulaexpo.com. If you're, like you said, in the tri-state, if it's easy for you to get here, if you're further away too, because people are coming from all over. I know it's last minute, y'all, but come, we would love to see you. So doulaexpo.com, it's DOULA expo.com. And then the other thing I would say is, if you feel called to doula work more specifically, and this is
what is a doula? Just because there's people out there in the comments that were like, "What's a doula?" And people know.
Yes. You know, we were going to start there, but when me and Marc start going, it's like, yeah, it's not an interview. We just talking, y'all. Right. So a doula is a non-clinical care provider that offers emotional support, physical support, education, advocacy tools. If you have a partner present, they provide partner support as well to make sure your partner feels like they can support you adequately. And they're like kind of like having a cheerleader for your birth, having like one of my clients calls it a producer for your birth, right? Like how you have wedding producers or planners, it's kind of like that. And so, but the role is old as time, right? Like it's one of the oldest professions, you know, it's like midwifery and doula, like this is what we were doing from the beginning, right? From biblical times. And so what's important about it is that that role, that person who's non-judgmental, right? So they're not like your cousin or your auntie or your mom or somebody who is bringing a lot to the table. It's a neutral person who's showing up and bridging some of those gaps within the family and also helping to weave everyone closer together to create this safety net for you as you move through the birthing process, that pregnancy, birth, and then postpartum journey. And so they're there to hold your hand as you cross a river. I always like to think about it like this. I feel like this work is like when I think about one of our great ancestors, Harriet Tubman, who was carrying people to safe passage by night and how she would help them cross a river. And imagine how she would be helping them cross a river and they'd be walking across the rocks and she would know just where like to place her feet and be like, watch your step. And you know what I mean? Like that knowing of the terrain is so important. And doulas are these people who help you cross the river, right? To safe passage through the birth process. Like they're those people who carry you across in spirit and in flesh. They're like your siblings, right? And so your care provider, your doctor or your midwife will be the person who actually delivers the baby. So they'll do all the technical work, they'll do all of the clinical work, but the doula is doing all of the emotional support.
All the emotion. Wow, that's a great way to put it. And you can learn more about this at Doula Expo. Make sure y'all check it out.
And training, if you can't make Doula Expo, doula training starts October 13th at Mama Glow.
Oh, I'm so glad you asked that because that was the other question that somebody said, someone in the chat wanted to be a doula. How can we encourage your training and work? So they go to Mama Glow.
Go to Mama Glow, MAMAGLOW.com. Just go to Mama Glow. And we have doula training. The next one, that is the last one of this year, will be October 13th is starting. We also have scholarship support. So go there, reach out, and you can, if you're looking for support and more information specifically, also just email info@mamaglow.com, and we can also help you there too with the information's there too. Yeah. So we love to see you.
This is going to be amazing, everybody. I'm going to be down at Doula Expo. We're going to be down there, me and the family. I can't wait to be there. I can't wait to see you as always.
Yes, I can't wait to hug my baby.
Exactly. He's going to be excited to give you a hug too. So it's going to be all love. Latham, you got to keep coming back because we got so much to do on this frontier. So you'll be back. You're going to be a regular tonight school, and we'll talk soon.
Thank you again. Thank y'all for being here, for hanging out, for staying up late. But Marc, just blessings upon you, just anointing you and thanking you because you have not stopped. I don't know how he does it, y'all, but I think it's because you're covered. So we're grateful. So thank you.
I'll claim it. Thank you, y'all. Everybody, that was Latham Thomas. Make sure y'all check out Doula Expo. Make sure you check out Mama Glow. Mama Glow does so many amazing things, from the trainings to the education, not just people who want to be doulas, but just even more broadly around these issues around maternal health. There aren't too many people like Latham. You need to make sure she's in your universe, she's in your world. Follow her everywhere you can on social media. Follow Mama Glow everywhere you can. I promise you it'll be worth it. We're going to take a quick break, and when we come back, we're going to talk about some of these new accusations. They are getting intense. We're going to take a break, come back on the other side of Night School. I'll see you right back. Peace, family. It's your brother, Marc Lamont Hill. Welcome back to Night School. We have been talking about a range of things this week, but maybe the most consistent topic that's been talked about, not just here on Night School, but everywhere, has been Diddy. That's right, y'all. We've been talking about Diddy because he's all over the news for all the wrong reasons. And new information has come out that only adds to the mess, the scandal, the crisis, all the words. It's really painful to see what's happened so far, but it's even more painful to hear the latest accusations. By the way, before I get started, I need everybody who's a Night School classmate to share this video with a friend, a group chat, a social media community. We want as many people as possible to be part of this conversation because it's so urgent, it's so relevant. And we're going to talk about it. Anyway, new information about Diddy. 120 people have come forward with new sexual assault allegations against Sean Diddy Combs. 25 of the accusers were minors at the time. The new claims were brought forward by Texas attorney Tony Buzbee, who is representing these accusers. He said his law firm was contacted by more than 3,200 people who alleged to have been victimized by Diddy. But after vetting the claims, they decided to represent 120 people, some of whom have already been interviewed by the FBI. The allegations span 3 decades, from 1991 until this year, 2024. There are 60 male accusers and 60 female accusers. One of the alleged victims claims he was only 9 years old when he was abused by Diddy. Buzbee expects lawsuits to be filed within the next month, mostly in New York, but also in Los Angeles. He also added that there are high-profile people connected to Diddy that are also going to be exposed. Diddy's attorneys, to his credit, and in his defense, responded to these latest claims. They said, quote, "Mr. Combs emphatically and categorically denies as false and defamatory any claim that he sexually abused anyone, including minors. He looks forward to proving his innocence and vindicating himself in court if and when claims are filed and served, where the truth will be established based on evidence, not speculation." Now, so many things here. First, it's important to establish that Diddy has maintained his innocence at just about every step. It's also important to recognize that Diddy claims his innocence even when he's guilty. He denied his innocence. He acknowledged it or asserted his innocence when it comes to Cassie. Diddy said, "This is a money grab. Everything being said about me and Cassie is a lie." And then the videotape came out of him abusing Cassie in a hotel, and then he apologized, although he never said Cassie's name. Later on, he said he was forbidden by law to say her name or something that just didn't add up. Also not true, but that's neither here nor there. The point is, Diddy says he's innocent until he's proven guilty. And I don't mean in the court of law. I'm saying Diddy will lie until you can force him into a corner. So while he deserves the legal benefit of the doubt, he deserves the legal presumption of innocence. You know, it's also reasonable for us as everyday people to say, I don't believe it. I don't trust it. I'm skeptical at the very least. So that's all I'm saying. I don't know what Diddy did. I don't know what Diddy didn't do. I wasn't there. I haven't spoken to a witness. I don't know. But I do know that it's reasonable to be skeptical of Diddy. That's the first thing. The second thing is 3,200 people came forward. Now, we know when it comes to celebrity cases, some people are going to come forward and implicate a celebrity. They're going to come forward and criticize a celebrity. They're going to come forward and blame or accuse or sue or charge a celebrity, even if they had nothing to do with it. But we also know that there are people who have been waiting in the wings to tell their story, but didn't feel safe. They didn't think they'd be believed. They didn't think they'd be trusted. They didn't think they'd be protected. They thought that they would be mocked. They thought that they would be abused. They thought that they would be punished. And so don't assume that because people are coming in 2024 for stuff that happened in 1991 that they're lying or that they waited until there was a cash grab. Sometimes it's just not safe. If Diddy is really doing even a fraction of the stuff he's accused of doing, then you could totally see why somebody would be afraid to come forward. They don't want their car blown up as he allegedly did to Kid Cudi. They don't want to be threatened with death. They don't want to be poisoned as some people have accused him of doing, certain people. All of that, again, I don't know what Diddy did or what Diddy didn't do. I wasn't there, but what I do know is that the evidence is certainly compelling and damn sure persuasive that Diddy is a monster. And so don't write off these accusers because of the timing. Also, you know, some people are going to focus on the gender piece. If there were 120 accusers and they were all women, they'd be like, oh, it's a cash grab. Oh, it's this, it's oh, it's that. But the moment a man is involved, now all of a sudden the homophobia gets introduced into the conversation. Now the anxiety around Diddy's sexuality gets talked about. And so we're not talking about whether he assaulted somebody. We're not talking about whether he did harm or not. We get into the scandalous sexual stuff that is, again, driven by homophobia, deep, profound homophobia. So we have to, again, be honest with ourselves, but also mindful not to fall into that trap, because some of these accusations are deep. And these accusations are targeted toward young people or about young people. A 9-year-old says that they were harmed by Diddy. A 9-year-old. What do you do when a 9-year-old says that? Now, again, I don't know if 100% of the accusations are true, 40%, 20%. It's hard for me to believe 0%. Hard for me to believe 0%. If Diddy is credibly accused of harming 9-year-olds, you ain't never going to hear from him again. He's going away. He ain't coming back. And to be honest with you, based on the legal cases, it's not entirely clear that Diddy's going to come home anyway. And yes, Zakiya Simpson writes in and says, someone was comparing him to Hugh Hefner. Yes. Here's the thing. We have to stop trying to sanitize the harmful behavior within our community by pointing to the harmful behavior outside of our community. Should Diddy be treated more harshly than Hugh Hefner? I don't think that's the right question. The question is, what does justice look like? And if people who are harmed by Hugh Hefner allegedly did not get justice, or if justice was not served in that case, then we should not be dreaming and hoping that the victims of Diddy get treated just as poorly and unfairly as the victims of Hugh Hefner allegedly. We should be hoping that everyone gets justice. We should be hoping that everyone gets justice. But too often our freedom dream becomes, I want Bill Cosby to be treated like Harvey Weinstein, not I want Harvey Weinstein to be treated like Bill Cosby. And I'm not inviting or promoting carceral solutions. I'm saying that a lot of times when white people get away with something and black people don't, we root for the black person to get away with it as opposed to the white person being held accountable. That's all I want us to think about. And now that we're hearing 9-year-olds, it gives more credibility to many of the allegations we've heard about Diddy and certain artists who have been tied to him in not so good ways. We keep hearing Justin Bieber. We keep hearing Usher Raymond. We keep hearing these names. Again, I don't know what's true and what's not, but it becomes, again, all these rumors, all these bubblings become much more credible. They feel much more credible when more accusers come forward. We don't know the story of Diddy. We don't know in the final analysis what's true right now, but we need to investigate. We need to find out, because whatever it is, it ain't healthy. It ain't good. And the Bunny is right, or Roseability, excuse me, is right. This is one of those times that being an abolitionist feels tricky. It feels tricky not because abolition is wrong, though. It feels tricky because in this society, we have not installed the mechanisms and the systems and the practices to hold people accountable outside of the carceral system. But that doesn't mean that abolition isn't the answer. It doesn't mean that the proper way to deal with someone like Diddy is to lock them in a cage for the rest of their life. The question, though, is what does justice require? And let's work through it. And maybe we don't have the tools and the institutions and the mechanisms right now to get there. But it doesn't mean that it's not possible. Somebody said, how many freak offs have you been to? I ain't never been to one, never been to a Diddy party, never been to a Diddy event. I've spoken to Diddy twice in my life, once in person and once on the text. And it was all of, a few seconds. We ain't got no relationship. But also, just because someone has been to a party doesn't mean they've done something wrong. And also, just because someone's been to a freak off doesn't mean they've done something wrong. We don't want to stigmatize or shame people for their sexual desire, for their sexual practices, for their sexual commitments. What we want to do is hold space for people who are harmed, people who are exploited, people who were abused. But we don't want to criminalize freakiness. Now, again, I ain't never been to a freak off. I ain't never been to a party. I ain't talking about myself here. I ain't got nothing to do with none of this. But we also don't want to get in this witch hunt mode where everybody on the internet who's taking a picture with Diddy or everybody who's been to a party is suddenly a monster. We don't want to get into that mode either, because it ends up shaming and doing all kinds of stuff to people who don't deserve it. And yeah, I don't doubt that the parties had levels kids now. Like I said, I ain't even been to a Diddy party, but I know people been to the party who didn't get to the after party, or they didn't get to the after party, or the after party. And I think all those things have different levels, and I think that it matters. So we're going to keep following the Diddy case. We're going to continue to figure out what he did and what he didn't do. We're going to continue to track the accusers and the victims and the survivors of this. Because it's important. It's important to keep track of these things. It's important to know where people are and who people are, because we don't want to bury their stories any more than they've already been. If anyone who's harmed, we owe them justice. Anyway, Wendy Williams breaks her silence on the subject of Diddy. That's right. It's been a long time that Wendy Williams has been warning people about Diddy. She has been openly critical of Diddy, or back then Puffy or Puff Daddy, throughout her career. And she's often warned people in the industry. So Diddy's investigation and arrest came as no surprise to Wendy Williams. That's what she told Daily Mail anyway. She gave them an exclusive interview. And here's what she said. She said, you know how I feel about it? It is about time to see this video on TV of Cassie getting pummeled. It was just horrific. But now you have to think, how many more times? How many people? How many more women? It's just so horrible. Now, Wendy Williams, if you don't know, and you should, has been a fixture of the music industry, particularly in the world of hip hop and rap and radio. She was a successful DJ, first at Hot 97. And then she went to Philly. She's been other places, but ultimately she went on to host the Wendy Williams TV show, which became a hit show for 13 years. It ended in 2020 as Wendy was dealing with several health issues and has been out of the spotlight. But it's important to let you know that Wendy Williams has been at the forefront of the Diddy conversation. She's been warning people about Diddy and talking about Diddy for a long time. Now, let's not lionize Wendy too much, because when Wendy first started talking about this, it wasn't like Wendy said Diddy's harming people. It wasn't like she said Diddy's exploiting people or trafficking people. She was just saying, she was basically alleging that Diddy was gay. And so much of her radio career in New York at the early stage was talking about first the gay rapper, which was a different conversation, and then also talking about Puffy, Diddy. And the main reason that Wendy Williams got fired from her major successful job at Hot 97 was because Diddy got her fired. Bad Boy was smoking hot. It was the biggest label on the planet. It was a very powerful engine, and she got shut down by that engine because Diddy didn't want anything about his life being said, and certainly didn't want that. And we have to be honest about that. Now, again, I don't know anything about Diddy's personal life from any experience. All I know is the rumors y'all know. But what I know for sure is that Wendy Williams wasn't alleging harm. She was just, in many ways, creating homophobia and stoking the flames of homophobia. Also, the same way she said, there's a gay rapper, we got to find the gay rapper, as if there's a single gay interloper in an otherwise heterosexual space of hip hop. No. There's gay rappers, gay DJs, gay producers, gay everything in hip hop, just like there is in Black church or in any industry. So the early work Wendy Williams did around Puffy was messy, and it was dangerous, and it was homophobic, and it was harmful to people other than him. Now, if she'd come out and said, look, Puff's doing abusive stuff or Puff is doing exploitative stuff, that would be different, but that's not what she did. So I don't want to rewrite history. But still, Wendy Williams also knew what Diddy was capable of. She always knew the harm that he posed, and she did also, in addition to all the messy stuff, also present that at times, but nobody listened. Because as long as you are making hits, as long as people are happy with your art and they can get something from you, they can monetize it, they can do whatever, they'll let you cook. They'll let you do whatever you want to do, especially if the primary victims in people's mind are women or poor people or Black people, because in that case, we're disposable anyway. So Wendy Williams has been telling the truth for a long time. She has spoken up and spoken out. She has proven to be prophetic in certain ways, and I hope that she tells more. I hope that she gives more firsthand accounts. I'm not talking about gossip and rumor and innuendo. I'm talking about telling us the truth as you know it, not as you believe it. And also, I hope, just on a side note, that Wendy Williams continues to heal, that she continues to feel better, that she remains clear-headed and healthy. Wendy, I know for a long time. I like her. I love her commitment to the culture and her work in the field. And I hope she makes it back. So that's that about that. One more piece of information here. Amazon yanks that Kim Porter memoir. I'm using air quotes because I think it's all bullshit. That's right. Amazon has pulled its #1 best-selling book, Kim Porter's Lost Words, over concerns about its authenticity. The publisher, his name is Chris Todd. He was right here on Night School. He gave us a very, very important and rare interview. You can go to YouTube and check out the Night School interview with Chris Todd. He claimed that the book was Kim's memoir and that he pieced it together from writings given to him on a flash drive by 2 unnamed sources. By 2 unnamed sources. Now, everybody got a right to believe what they want. I'm not telling people what to believe. I'm simply telling y'all that that it's a shaky case. When you look at that book, when you read that book, when you hear his story, you can judge for yourself, but it all sounds like bullshit to me based on my research and based on my interview with him. And so finally, Amazon has decided that they're not going to rock with it anymore. Now, the backlash was immediate. Kim Porter and these children, they all denounced the book as a complete fabrication. But Amazon didn't care. They're making money hand over fist. But now they finally said, we were made aware of a dispute regarding this title and have notified the publisher the book is not currently available for sale in our store. Now, again, he made millions off this book already. He told us that here on the show. He's already made his money, so who cares if you're him? Is Amazon going to retract the payments? Of course not, Kismet. Isn't it Jamal Millwood, right? All that stuff is nothing but a grift. All that is nothing but a grift. And so I'm glad that the book is being taken away. I hope that there's justice coming soon. I hope that he's held accountable. I hope that Kim's children get to speak. I hope Albie Shore gets a chance to speak. I hope all of this happens because Kim Porter does deserve a voice, but it shouldn't be a fake voice. It shouldn't be somebody who just pieced together some BS and attributed it to her. It should be somebody who has the ability to narrate Kim's story in an honest and truthful way. And that ain't this white man or his fake anonymous writers. So shout out to Amazon for yanking it, but I wish they'd done it a lot sooner. All right, family, that's it for tonight. We got so much more to talk about. I know we got to talk about Iran. I know we got to talk about what's going on in Palestine and Gaza. And we will talk about all of those things tomorrow night. We're also going to do a Gaza update where we're going to break down everything going on in Lebanon. We're going to talk about also y'all's Vice President Kamala Harris, who said that Iran is a destabilizing force in the Middle East. Whatever you think about Iran, it's just really rich that after Israel commits a 360-day and counting, or I guess now 362-day, wait, my math is up, 365, 358, 360-day genocide, after inciting the kind of responses we're seeing from the Ansar Allah, the Houthis in Yemen, and the kind of response we're seeing from Hezbollah, the North, all these things. The Middle East is on fire. The region is on fire precisely because of the intervention. And you could say, well, Hamas started it. Well, Hamas did not start it. Hamas itself is responding to decades of siege and occupation. So at the end of the day, it is Israel who is a destabilizing force. Doesn't mean you can't have a critique of Hezbollah. Doesn't mean you can have a critique of Iran. Doesn't mean you can have a critique of Hamas. Doesn't mean you can have a critique of the PA. But let's not pretend that all the smoke deserves to be directed in one direction. And yet, the American nation state, the U.S. government, is out here pretending that the Middle East was stable until Iran just popped up, as opposed to saying that is the ethno-nationalist, the ethno-state, the apartheid state, the genocidal actions of the Israeli military. They're the ones precipitating the violence that we're seeing right now. And that the Project of Zionism itself is a destabilizing force in the Middle East. We're not willing to say that and have that conversation, but we will have it here at Night School because it's necessary. It is 100%, 1000% necessary. So we're going to do it. Anyway, family, we got to run. I got to run. I'm in Chicago. I got an early flight. But I appreciate y'all. Jason Wakeman, I appreciate you dropping something in the super chats. I encourage everyone to do that. It is the first of the month, man. We are grinding. We are climbing. We'll be back tomorrow night with more great content. But for now, I just want to thank everybody for watching. Hit the like button, hit the subscribe button, hit the join button. If you're so inclined to become a monthly paid member of the channel, it helps us get the financial stability we need to build the kind of network that you will be proud of. And we try to do that every night for you. Also, if you don't have the resources or the commitment to do a monthly commitment, you could drop something in our Cash App, our PayPal, our Venmo, or our Zelle. I'm still fighting with Cash App, y'all, so don't use Cash App tonight. But PayPal, Venmo, or Zelle, feel free to drop something in. Anything between $1 and $1 million is welcomed. We appreciate it. But if everybody watching right now were to drop $10, if everybody watching right now were to drop $10 in, we would meet all of our financial goals for the month. So just consider it, y'all. In the meantime, keep liking, keep subscribing, keep joining, keep sharing. But most of all, keep studying, because that is what Night School is all about. Peace.